Hey guys, I think I have an echo. Hang on just a second. Let me just. Just a minute. I think there's a little echo. You guys can probably hear the echo. Can you hear that? Okay. How about now? Any echo? All right. I feel like I'm still hearing it. Maybe you guys can hear that. Tell me if you hear an echo. I do. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this camera and we're just going to. Can y'all hear me now? I think you can hear me now. Okay, so we're just going to do it that way. And that way there's no weird audio stuff going on. So here's my page. leave me a comment if you guys can still hear me. That way I know you can hear me. Here's a page I did the other day that just was using actually the same tracer page. I used this for that. And these are little journals to kind of continue with that theme. And the page on the opposite side, I would like to have some of the same colors. So I'm going to go ahead and make that page the same color scheme and a similar style because I love for my opposite pages to match. Alrighty. I'm moving the camera back just a little bit so you guys can see a little bit more. And go ahead and say hi if you're watching so I know you're there. Otherwise I can't tell. Today I'm going to use my Komorebi watercolor art set. Art journaling set. Watercolor paint set. And I have a clean jar of water over here. Very important for today because we're going to be splashing a lot of color. And I'm just going to have fun with the colors today. We're going to start with my more neon colors. They always call this blue neon, but it's really not that bright. I just like it because it's such a clear blue. So I'm going to use this blue. This is neon blue, and I'm going to add a little bit of azurite blue. I think azurite blue is probably my favorite in this whole palette. I use it so much. I'm going to water that down a lot with my jar of water. I think I'm maybe not seeing people's comments, so I apologize if I'm not seeing them, but here we go. So I'm just going to color in the bottom of this hat, and I'm not going to be super precise with it because I kind of want to leave some white space. And I want to be able to drop in color. So I'm just going to leave that a little bit loose. And I'm going to do the top of the hat here. I'm keeping my color nice and light because I'm going to be dropping in some color here. All right, now that I have that nice and light, I'm going to grab magenta. Whoops, I'm sorry, not magenta. I'm going to make a magenta out of carmine and some neon pink. I love these two colors together. I'm going to drop these in just on the side of the hat here. I'm going to put it down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to water my color down. Look how my water turns pink almost instantly. I'm just going to drop that in a little bit. And I want to keep this a little bit sloppy looking. I know that bugs some people, but I don't want it to be precise at all. I'm going to come back in with a pen later, so I don't really need it to be really precise right now. I'm going to also grab some violet. I'm going to grab some violet, which is a rich violet we have in this palette. Drop that in on the other side. I don't want it to be much darker than the other page though, so I'm just going to let that kind of fade out. Use a clean brush. Drop this in a little bit. And now I'm just kind of gauging how close is my graduation cap looking to this splashy color I have over here. So I need a little bit more blue, I think. I'm going to get a little bit more of my azurite blue on my brush and drop some more into here. You can tell I'm just adding it and letting it flow on its own. And then I'm drying my brush off over here on the right and coming back in with a dry brush and kind of just moving the color around. And I want to leave some white space behind, so make sure if you're following along that you're not filling all of that in. Leave some light space. That's really important to make the painting look light. I'm going to grab some neon pink and brighten up these pink areas just a little bit. Okay, so now what I want to do, I'm noticing my color starting to dry. What I want to do is grab my blue and my other colors as well, and I'm going to start splashing. And I just kind of grab my brush and flick it on the page. I also can tap it on my finger. Ooh, that's fun. And I like to use the brightest colors for that. I'm going to grab some of the neon pink and the magenta color. So that's carmine, number 18, and number 75 neon pink together. Makes a great neon. I'm gonna real kind of gently splatter that. So you can just use whatever analogies you want, but I kind of like to think while I was doing this page over here on the left that learning can be a messy process. And so that kind of works with our page looking a little bit messy and fun. These colors need to dry a little bit before I do more. So I'm going to kind of let them start to settle, and then while those are settling, I'm going to work on the diploma scroll. And I like the neon green that I came up with over here, and that was just lemon yellow mixed with neon green. And the neon green actually isn't a chartreuse color. I just used the neon green because it's a clearer color. So I just mixed number 101 lemon yellow with neon green, which is number 81 in this palette. Like that, until I get that really sour looking green. My yellow is a little bit not quite the yellow I'm wanting yet. I'm going to get a little neon yellow and see if that helps. There we go. Okay, then I'm going to use that as the base color for my graduation scroll. And I'll just be careful as I'm filling this color in not to let the green bleed into any of the blues that are over there. If it does a little, I'm not super worried about it. Like here's some splatters. Some of these splatters are still wet, so they're picking up some of that. That's okay. It can look kind of fun with some splatters in it. And then just fill in the rest like this. Okay, so as that's drying, I'm going to want to add some shading. So I'm going to use some of the blue, azurite blue on the edges, kind of just underneath to add a little bit of shading so that my scroll looks round. Sometimes when we're doing stuff like this that looks really abstract, we don't even think about shading. Like we think, oh, it's, you know, it's abstract. It doesn't really need any shading or whatever. But actually just a tiny bit can really help. So that's why I go ahead and do that. We don't want it to be totally flat, even if it is sort of splashy and unrealistic colors or whatever. This looks like somebody graduating from an art school. So I'm going to let that green kind of start to dry. And I'm going to try to pull up my page so I can see if anybody's making comments I can't see. Okay, so I just saw a couple people liked things. Okay, good. If you're making comments and I don't see you, I apologize. Alrighty, so now I'm going to do the little bow on the front. I think I'm going to go ahead and make that magenta as well. So a nice pink colored bow. And I'm just going to paint this in quickly, leaving a little bit of white space for shine. And then, of course, it's tied kind of around it, so there's the back tie and then a little bit of a ribbon on this side. I left a little white space for that ribbon, but it didn't need a whole lot of space. And I'm going to add a little purple to it so it's not solid. I don't want this to be the only thing that's like a perfectly solid color. And then on the background, or the back side of the ribbon, I'm going to make that a dark purple. Maybe I'll also fill it in on the cracks as well. Okay, so that dark purple I really like. Ooh, it's nice and rich. So I'm going to use that to splatter actually. I know that's a real dark color, but it really adds something to this kind of a painting if you add some dark splatters. I actually used black splatters on the other page, and that really looked nice. I'm going to pick up a little bit of black with my paintbrush while it still has purple on it. Add some water. Not too much water, but I'm going to add a little water. and then use that as splatters as well. And then I'm just going to use the tip of my brush to add this color to the edge of the hat. I'm going to use it for the ribbon on the cap as well. Which kind of came down and then had a little tassel at the end. So I'm just going to freehand that a little bit. And then draw that out to the end. And I am going to come back with pen, but I'm just kind of establishing some of the darker lines before I do that. You can see I'm just letting the black kind of bleed into things. This is black and purple mixed together, but I'm using the very tip of this brush. This is my number 10 long, round Velvet Touch Princeton brush. It just has a real nice fine tip, so I can still use it, but if I didn't have a nice tip on this brush, I would end up using probably a liner brush for this step. Okay, so that's almost done. I don't want to keep using the brush because I know my brush strokes are going to get too heavy-handed here in a minute. So I'm going to switch from that. Actually, before I do, I'm just going to add a little bit of pink right here. I'm going to brighten that section up a little tiny bit. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to work on my lettering. So I'm going to use my Fud pen again, Fudenosuke Tombow hard tip, and just do this lettering, which I've already traced out. I'm going to go ahead and do it a little bit more fancy than the tracer showed. And it just says, "Teach me." Which is actually what the other page says as well, but I'm going to do a different Bible verse on today's page. I should have said this is the part of the show where Marina stops talking, because if Marina talks while she writes, she misspells words on live. So talk amongst yourselves while I finish this last word. There we go, teach me. And then while this is drawing, I'm going to go ahead and write our verse from today, which was Psalm 25. And I'll just do verse 25 on here, which says, "Lead me in thy truth." And again, if you want to look up ways to improve your handwriting for things like this small section, that is on the Art Journaling DIY group today. Lead me in thy truth and teach me. And the next section says, "For thou art the God of my salvation." On thee do I wait all the day. And I always like to try to put the verse reference if I can, so underneath I'm just going to say Psalm 25, 5, yeah. Okay. And then even if I'm writing in pen, I tend to wait to erase my tracer lines and my stencil lines. Here's the stencil that I used to make those lines. This is from a Hobby Lobby journal insert stencil. It's the kind of stencil you can pop into your journal and pop it out when you need it. And I just cut out this little section so that I could use this all the time. And I use it all the time. I love it. Okay, so I'm just going to check and see if this is getting dry. Okay, that's pretty much where I want it to be. Now I'm just going to outline with the same FUD pen. I love using the FUD pen for this because it creates lines that are like a brush stroke. They're kind of thick and thin. So I like to use it for outlining if I'm doing something like this. What you want to be careful with is not to ruin your pen on wet surfaces. So just be careful if you're doing this not to touch it to anywhere that's still kind of drying. And then I'm going to come around. And I'm just trying to make sure I got this loop correct based on the tracer. Perfect. Okay. Like that. And I want to outline the bottom of the graduation cap a little bit. I like to leave a little space between my outline and the actual edge of the painting. I feel like it gives it a little bit of breathing room. So a lot of times you'll see my outline comes out a little further than the tracer itself and leaves a little bit of white space in between. I'm not sure why that works, but it makes the painting look a little bit more open and free. I'm going to do a more rounded bottom on this tassel and just kind of finish it off. Now the ribbon. And I'm putting my finger into some of the ink, so it's probably going to smudge, but that's okay. We have a messy page anyway. And notice I'm doing kind of abrupt, quick brush strokes just to keep everything nice and loose looking and painting like, instead of like I took a lot of time to trace it. I want it to kind of look like a sketch. All right. That pretty much does it. I'm going to take my eraser and erase these pencil lines. And I just need to make sure I don't have any big blotches of paint that are not dry yet. I think most of these are dry. I can do that. Nice. This kind of looks like rain coming down here. Not exactly what I was going for, but I think it still works. And then I want to date my page, so I'm just going to say August. I'm like, what day is it? August 5th. Do like that. 22. I almost ran out of room. All right, there we go. And that is today's art journal page. Let me make sure that's all the way on the screen. Thank you, Mama. So as you can see, I use the same colors on both pages, so these kind of match. And I had some journaling here and then a scripture here so that those line up really nicely. So if you enjoyed that, please give this a thumbs up and share it with anyone else that you think might have enjoyed it. Let me go ahead and add this. There we go. Unmute that. All right. Never can figure out how to do that. Okay. Sorry for the sound. Sound is weird. Alrighty. Anywho, this is my art journal page. Whoa. That was weird. My phone was trying to call an emergency number. Anywho, sorry for the tech issues today. There's the finished product. I hope you guys enjoyed today's art journal page, and try out your handwriting on something small like this. I'd like to hear if anybody tried out a FUD pen, because those ones work really well with your like basic cursive handwriting, and it just dulls it up a little bit. But that's all I have for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time at 12. Let's see. I am live every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 12:30 Central, 1:30 Eastern, right here at Artworthy Live. I'll see you next week. Bye.